Things are gonna get crazy.
Most everyone's mad here.
It's time to get things started and welcome everyone to an all-new episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How are you all doing today? Because I can guarantee you right now, I definitely feel great and I definitely feel energized to get this episode started. And there is a reason, honestly, why I actually feel a little more excited than usual to start this particular episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, especially right now on Twitch. Because, well, I'm going to be very honest, and I did notice that some of you have already found out. But the thing is that before I started this episode, well, a few days before I started this one, I actually left you all a little bit of a present. And honestly, I can see right now that I am so glad that it's already working in the chat wall, so everything is going smoothly. But in case you don't know what I am talking about, yes, it is true, folks. I now officially have AniMat emotes. AniMat emotes, specifically. I need to learn how to pronounce that correctly. But yes, this will be a new thing that I do have for my Twitch channel. Not specifically just for AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, but anytime I would do a live stream on Twitch, I now have a new set of AniMat emotes, and I do have several that you could probably see right over here with a wide range of different emotions, ranging from anger to happiness to laughing and all that kind of stuff. So some of you might probably be wondering, how do you get these special AniMat emotes? If you want to go and use them for, you know, your own experience and to add into your brand of interactivity onto my live streams, how can you go and get these emotes? Well, all you simply have to do is either follow or subscribe to my Twitch channel, to AniMat Live. And also, I just want to go and mention this right now. The higher the tier that you are subscribed to me to, the more emotes you can actually go and get. So if you do follow me, you only get half of it, but if you are subscribed to me and are subscribed to a bigger tier, then you'll actually go and get more emotes. And honestly, I just want to mention on a side note also, the more I would get subscribers, the more emotes I could actually go and make. So that is honestly something that I am pretty excited to go and try out. If the opportunity does legitimately come that, Twitch will allow me to go and actually create more emotes. Also, one more thing I would like to go and mention, and that is the fact that I did actually hear coming from Twitch that in September, they're going to have a special thing called a Subtember. And if you don't know what this is, Subtember is basically when they would actually supply discounts for any time you want to go and subscribe to whoever you want to go and subscribe to on Twitch. So just to give you a little bit of a heads up, starting September, that's when you can go and immediately do whatever tier of subscription you can in order to unlock as many emotes that I have available, as much as you want. So that's just something that honestly I feel like I should have done a long time ago, actually. And just to go and help things out in terms of the interactivity of my podcast and my live streams in general. So just something a little bit fun that I want to go and introduce to you all. And already I am seeing that you guys are using to great effect. So now that I do have that out of the way, how about we actually get into the actual podcast itself? So I would like to go into the chat wall and ask, are you all ready with the new AniMat emotes to get things started on this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it. Are we all ready? Let's see. Yep. Okay. I see some people are prepared. That is great to see. Beautiful. All right. And now, with all that said and done, it is now time that we shall go and get things started. And one thing I will admit that it is going to be a tiny bit difficult when it comes to this episode in particular of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast is the fact that this is regarding a news that just recently occurred, and I know that for many, this still hurts. This is something that just broke out the day before I have started this episode, and, well, I didn't think that this would be the big story of the week, but then again, here we are now. So with that said, let's go ahead and start this episode off by talking about the unfortunate passing of Ed Asner. Yes, folks, if you guys haven't heard, legendary actor Ed Asner has unfortunately passed away this week at the age of 91. Apparently, it has been stated that his death was due to natural causes, and he was indeed surrounded by his family. This actually broke out on his official Twitter account, where his family actually put out a little message by stating, "We are sorry to say that our beloved patriarch passed away this morning peacefully. Words cannot express the sadness we feel. With a kiss on your forehead, good night, Dad. We love you." And for those of you who are not immediately familiar with Ed Asner, he is actually a very well-known and very renowned television actor. In fact, his most well-known roles are actually back in the 1970s and the 1980s when he appeared in the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and he had the starring role in Lou Grant. And from there, he would go and appear in numerous of different TV shows all across his life and across several generations. Like, this is a man who literally was acting until the day he legitimately died. So just to read you some of the shows that he also worked on top of stuff like Lou Grant and Mary Tyler Moore. Of course, he was noticed by the Emmys numerous of times, not only getting several nominations, but even several wins for shows and miniseries such as Rich Man, Poor Man, Roots, and even appearing recently in stuff like Gracie and Frankie, Cobra Kai, and American Dad. He also has a prominent list of several different shows that he actually appeared in, rather it be stuff like Bronx Zoo, Off the Rack, also appeering in Daniel, JFK, Fort Apache, The Bronx, Skin Game, and many others, even like some specials ranging from the Tom Selleck comedy The Closer, the 1993 production of Gypsy, appearing like in a small role or even guest starred in stuff like Roseanne, The X-Files, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Dharma and Greg, and many more. And on top of that, he also appeared in several movies, such as Academy Boys, Hard Rain, The Bachelor, Above Suspicion, Elf, and Enchanted Cottage. But on top of that, not only was he a prominent live-action actor, but he was also very well known in the voiceover community. He was also a very prolific voice actor, where he lended his voice in several different animated shows, including Fish Police, Batman, Captain Planet and the Planeteers, Gargoyles, Freakazoid, Spider-Man, where he played as James Jonah Jameson, Word Girl, The Boondocks, but probably one of, if not his most well-known role that he did in a movie is actually providing the voice of Carl Fredricksen in the 2009 movie Up, where he does play the old man who decided he doesn't want to go into a retirement home, so he literally carried his house up in the air with millions of balloons in order to achieve his dream of his widow wife of moving to Paradise Falls. And also, one more thing I would like to mention, which, by the way, all this I am reading from my source on Variety. One more thing I did forget to mention is the fact that not only was Ed Asner a very prominent actor, but he was also a very prominent political activist. And there have been times throughout his life when his political activism did get himself in trouble, especially when he was the president of the Screen Actors Guild. It even mentioned here a story in which he really got himself in trouble when he was pretty much speaking against the America's involvement of the whole El Salvador situation. In fact, let me go and just read you a part here. Actually, like like this whole section here on Variety, it states, Asner had recently been active in politics or union activities, but he was vocal during the crippling 1980 SAG strike, the result in which prompted him to run for the office, which he won the next year. His battle included improving the employment and compensation conditions for actors, as well as united SAG and SEG, which is the extra version of SAG, which eventually came to pass. He also championed a SAG-AFTRA merger, but changed his view by 2012 when members approved the combination after Asner and other union activists failed to persuade the judge to grant a court order preventing the vote. But he drew fire with his public pronouncements against the U.S. involvement in El Salvador, which many saw as an abuse of his SAG office. While he was president, an award to a former SAG president, Ronald Reagan, was resigned because of the now U.S. president's dissolution of the Air Traffic Controllers Union, although Asner himself did not vote on it. He also protested South Africa's apartheid policies while in office. Such controversies drew fire from Charlton Heston, an avid Reaganite, and a duel began that almost wound up in court. Asner was elected to another 2-year term in 1983, winning by a landslide, after which he stepped down in 1985, throwing his support to Patty Duke. He continued to defend political activism, calling it not a luxury, but a necessity throughout his life. And that's the major thing about Ed Asner. He was a man that really not necessarily cared about his reputation or anything like that. He just cared about acting and really speaking out his mind. And I think, well, one thing I will admit is that I am not really that familiar when it comes to what some people may say as Ed Asner's prime, per se. I'm not necessarily all that familiar with the stuff that he has done in the Mary Tyler Moore Show or with Lou Grant either. I am a 90s kid, and as such, I kind of grew, like, I pretty much came from the age after those TV shows already came out. Like, the most that I would say that I am familiar with Lou Grant was when Ed Asner was a special guest star on The Simpsons, and he was kind of reprising his role. I think he was like being the same Lou Grant character, but I will admit, it's been a while since I've seen that episode, but I'm not 100% sure if it literally was Lou Grant or they decided to be a semi-parody where it's like, not really Lou Grant, but they brought in Ed Asner anyways to act like Lou Grant, that kind of like weird middle ground. But even with that, though, there are still plenty of performances that I am familiar with Ed Asner, and I think the amazing thing with Ed Asner is the fact that he is an actor across several generations, and there's a very strong chance that you actually knew a performance that Ed Asner has done throughout your whole life. And I don't just necessarily mean with Carl Fredricksen, even though that could debatably be one of his most well-known roles, like maybe even more so than either Lou Grant or whoever he played in the Mary Tyler Moore Show. On top of that, like I mentioned before, especially when it comes to the animation scene, he appeared in several different shows and played several different performances that I'm sure a lot of people will find immediately recognizable, some of which he actually did get some nominations for. In fact, they mentioned that with his voice acting performance, he actually got 3 Daytime Emmy Awards. One for Captain Planet and the Planeteers, which I believe he played as one of the villains, like that really wanted to go crazy with pollution. There was Spider-Man, which again he was playing as James Jonah Jameson, basically a little nod to what he did with Lou Grant. And also Word Girl, in which he got a nomination as well. On top of that, like, there are also other times when people like to play around with his personality. I almost forgot to add in that he was also in The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, where there was a little segment like they like to do for fun, which is called "Does This Impress Ed Asner?" in which they introduce a it's basically this little segment. They just show a random thing and they want to see if Ed Asner would be impressed. And in terms of the roles, I would say like the ones that I am definitely personally attached to when it comes to the ones played by Ed Asner, I think there's no denying his performance as Carl Fredricksen from Up. It is very powerful. I mean, not only does he really sell well in the aspect of being an old man, like just this grumpy old man, but you could tell that there is a lot more to him, especially with that opening that they like, that very world known opening that they presented in Up, that they started things out with a whole backstory and his loving relationship that he had with his wife Ellie, and he knew ever since he was a kid, and like they basically grew up together and grew old together and stuff like that, and pretty much seeing his life as a widow and seeing how things change. And even though like on his like when you first see him, yeah, he seems like the typical grumpy old man, but again, there is so much more to him where he does have a soul, and he is highly motivated based on like the aspirations of his wife Ellie, like to really do it for her basically. And there is just something that's so heartfelt with Carl's performance that even like as an old man, like he's still motivated to go and follow his dreams. And that is something that honestly nowadays it makes Up a very rare type of family film, or a rare type of animated feature, because when it comes to these kinds of stories where you want to follow your dreams and, you know, like achieve your goals and stuff like that, usually the main character or the protagonist would usually be someone who is young. And of course, movies would go and deliberately go and make the protagonist young in order to make it more relatable to the younger crowd, the younger audience, so that they can go and have a connection with them and have some relatabilities, whether it be their issues with their parents, or even like dealing with stuff that younger people would do. Like you won't see main characters deal with things like taxes or housekeeping and stuff like that. Like they would be dealing with maybe homework, or like starting to take on full-on responsibilities and stuff like that. But when it comes to Up, it actually stars an old man. It stars a guy who is in his twilight years. He mostly went through his life, but he hasn't fully achieved the dreams that he wants to go and accomplish, especially to someone that he lived almost his entire life and has sadly passed away, and has to live his life without his significant other. And that's really a rare occasion that we would see in a movie. And I think, honestly, Up did that so well. And a lot of it is thanks to the performance of Ed Asner, which is why nowadays Up is still regarded as like not only one of Pixar's best, but so like highly regarded as like one of the best animated features ever. And I mean, I don't blame them, honestly. It really is that good. But if there is also one performance that I will say that really does stand out, like outside of Up, of course, if there is one role that I really did like from Ed Asner, I would have to say is his performance in Elf. And I just got to say this right now, Ed Asner is possibly one of, if not the most underrated movie Santas out there. And just to give you context, I'm someone who actually really likes Elf. Elf is like one of my go-to Christmas movies that me and my family, we would go and watch every year. And when it comes to Ed Asner's performance as Santa, I feel like his version of Santa is honestly the most human. It feels like the one where Santa does legitimately feel like an actual person, more so than that jolly entity who is always bright, who is always loving and stuff like that. Like, this is the Santa that actually feels like someone who has a job. Like, yeah, he loves what he does, and he still has a lot of that signature trait that does make him Santa, but it really feels like someone who does have his limits, someone, you know, who does need a team in order to make the magic actually happen. And there are times where we would see Santa who would have some emotions that normally we don't see in other traits in other movie Santas. Like when Santa would have to go and confront the fact that a human baby snuck into his present bag and entered into the North Pole. Like, his first reaction is just, yeah, I don't have time to take care of a baby. And like with plenty of other Santas, you would probably think that this Santa would be the kind that would go and raise the kid as his own with the kind and loving nature he would have. But no, this Santa is actually more realistic to the point where he can't really go and take care of that baby. And even I remember one point where Santa, like, he actually threatened Buddy, like, during the climax of the movie where Santa crashed his sleigh when the power was ridiculously low, when not many people legitimately have Christmas spirit. And, like, Buddy first ran into Santa, and like, I remember Santa was like threatening him. It was like, yo, back off, because he thought it was like the NYPD or something like that. Someone that, like, he jokingly did put on the naughty list. It was either the NYPD or something like that. And like, they mentioned how they were attacking the sleigh and stuff like that. And his excuse was, I put them on the naughty list and they never forgave me for it. But yeah, honestly, that is also one role, other than Carl Fredricksen from Up, that I will definitely never forget, because, again, I just feel like he definitely is one of the most underrated movie Santas out there. And someone even mentioned it was actually the NYPD horse control. Yeah, the horse patrol. Sorry, yeah, the NYPD horse patrol. Yeah, and also one thing I will say that does actually surprise me, and one thing that I've always admired about Ed Asner that not many people actually talk about is actually regarding his political activism. Ed Asner would definitely be the kind of guy that you would see a bunch of simple-minded trolls on social media that they would just go and harass him and just say, you shouldn't talk about politics, you should keep your politics to yourself. But Ed Asner is pretty much the kind of guy that he knows that political activism is, like he said, it's not a luxury, it's actually a necessity to actually see some justice be done. And this is a guy whom, no matter when it would happen, he would just go for it regardless, even at some of the most controversial times. And one thing that I will admit is actually highly admirable is the way that he was openly political, especially during the time of Ronald Reagan. Because keep in mind, back in the 1980s when Ronald Reagan was president, that was back when conservatism was really at its prime, or it was considered highly admirable and truly mainstream. Like, it wasn't that popular. It was the first time it got popular ever since the 1950s with the Cold War and that fear of communism and stuff like that, especially with the Red Scare. And so with that, well, like, even though it was popular and a lot of people at the time really loved Ronald Reagan, that didn't stop Ed Asner for talking about what is right and calling him out on the whole El Salvador controversy. And yeah, he did get a lot of backlash, and some people even accused him of like abusing his power, considering that he was elected as the SAG president, especially when it comes to butting heads with one of the most well-known conservative celebrities, Charlton Heston. So you could probably imagine how someone with the kind of viewpoints as Ed Asner and with someone with the viewpoints of Charlton Heston, yeah, they would definitely go and butt heads. Like, I would probably even say, considering the things I've read about Ed Asner's political activism history, like, I guess I would say Ed was pretty lucky that the feud didn't go to extremes to the point where they would go into court. Like, that did not legitimately happen, and he got lucky that he got away with that. But still, though, there is that aspect of it that the way that he is more openly spoken and even like deflecting and fighting against the critics, there's just something that is truly admirable with his political activism. And especially during the time when he was alive, especially like even nowadays, where he never gave up on that political activism. Where even during the Trump administration, like, he was not, like, there was no hesitation for him to call out Donald Trump's stupidity, and especially the entire stupidity of the GOP and what conservatives have ultimately become, where the grand majority of them have become far-right extremists who are so hell-bent in believing so many of these delusional QAnon conspiracies, which nowadays is what's primarily ultimately killing these people during this whole pandemic, is because of the stubbornness and the ignorance and the conspiracies that has been developed by these far-right extremists and these Trump supporters. Why right now we are in a fourth wave. The fact that we still have anti-vaxxers and anti-maskers running rampant and being violent everywhere. Especially, there was a recent event where one anti-masker went completely insane in a Miami airport and was just like being completely violent, including like full-on property damage, like down to the point where you're wondering, where are those people that hate Black Lives Matter, like calling him out on that? Like, the dude was obviously doing so much property damage, and yet they seem suspiciously silent on the reason why he was ranting around, because they didn't give him his privilege of the fact that he refused to wear a mask. But anyways, back to what I was talking about. Ed Asner is not someone who is hesitant to call out on Donald Trump's fascism, how Trump supporters have basically become Nazis, and the whole pandemic situation, that everyone should wear masks and that there should be vaccine mandates as well. Like, this was a dude that never gave up on his political activism, and that is something that I feel like should honestly be highly admired. Yes, it is a controversial side, but it is a side that more people should honestly go and develop to be more open about political issues and stuff like that. Even if people are too scared to go and speak out because it might cause division, don't be, honestly. You need to go and actually like speak out about like current situations, because if you rather want to be silent about it, then nothing is going to be resolved. And trust me, if you don't want to be silent about the current pandemic, then you're only helping the pandemic to like last longer. I'm just saying. And overall, the one thing I will say regarding Ed Asner is that if there is one way to completely summarize Ed Asner in terms of his career and his entire life, is actually something that I did recently recall. I remember there was one little segment in the documentary I Know That Voice, a great documentary, by the way. For any aspiring voice actors, I highly recommend you go and check it out. But I do recall there was one little segment where they did bring in Ed Asner. I just want to go and show you that little part right over here. Yeah, here we go. Just to quickly show you that little clip.
Hi, I'm Ed Asner. I love to act.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just need to pause there for a second. I don't know why, but that part is just so funny to me. Let's just like quickly go and see that again. Just out of nowhere, pulls out a switchblade after introducing himself.
I'm at Asner. I love to act.
I'm at Asner, and I'm a cut-a bitch. Anyways, here, let's go and continue.
I love to act. I don't care what form it takes, be it improv, voiceover, narration, anything that requires my pretending to be someone else. I leap at.
To be a good voice.
And I mean, it seems pretty simple enough, but to be honest, I think that's the best way to really describe the life of Ed Asner. He is someone who did what he loved and loved what he did. And this is a guy who just simply loved acting. He just wanted to act, regardless of what the medium may be, rather it be for animation, for live action, like on camera, or even for the stage, for improv or anything like that. Any opportunity for him to go and act, he'll be more than happy to go and take it. And honestly, that's a very admirable trait from Ed Asner, or another very admirable trait coming from the guy is that he just, like, really his true motivation in life is to just keep doing what he loves. And what he loves to do is just simply acting and really not holding back on trying to go and pursue that. And really, I think that's like what we all would love to achieve in life, to go and do what we love and love what we do. And I know that is something that I'm currently doing right now. For me, I do what I love, which is making videos, and I love what I do, which is, whether it be reviewing, making history videos, or doing this podcast right over here. Like, for me, what I do is that I'm motivated by my passion and what I love to do. And that's something that we should all learn from Ed Asner and take that kind of trait with us. So honestly, it's going to be very sad to see Ed Asner go, but it really shows that nobody is immortal in a way. And yeah, like, I can't really say that this is truly tragic, mainly because of the fact that Ed Asner did legitimately live a full life. And what he died from is just natural causes. So, like, his life is set, his life is complete, and he pretty much did everything that he wanted to do and spend the time with the people that he loved. He managed to successfully go and do that. So honestly, it is tragic. It is sad, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's tragic. But with that said, though, it's not going to change the fact that this news still does hurt a little bit. And honestly, the most that I could say at this point is just may Ed Asner rest in peace, and hope that his legacy will continue live on. All right, so with that said, now I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, do you have any words that you would like to say regarding the whole situation with Ed Asner? Is there any comments that you would like to make? And also, what memory would you like to share related to a role played by Ed Asner, rather it be as Carl Fredricksen, or some people are mentioning J. Jonah Jameson? If you have any fond memories related to a performance by Ed Asner, let me know what you have. Okay, let's see what we got here. Ed Asner was one of the best, with his performance as J. Jonah Jameson, and that version of the character was studied and analyzed and researched immediately by J.K. Simmons, and getting ready for his role as the same character in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. Also, definitely check out what Mark Hamill said on Twitter about Ed Asner. It is a great quote. All right, that's nice. Let's see. What else do we have? I honestly had no idea that Ed Asner was that prolific of a voice actor. The only role I knew him other than Carl was Santa in Elf. I don't know where I heard, but I thought he was a 9/11 conspiracy theorist, but that's not important. Oh, I wouldn't say so, honestly. I don't think he would be one of those people. Like, yeah, he was a political activist, but he's not an insane one in the levels of like Alex Jones per se. To lighten the mood, here's a conversation I had with my sister. No one could replace Ed Sheeran? Asner. Ed Sheeran is a singer. Oh, I forgot. Okay, that's cute. Let's see, what else do we have here? This news has absolutely devastated me. Ed Asner was an absolutely talented and amazing actor and voice actor. His legacy will live on forever, and he will be remembered for me. I definitely agree that his best roles he's done is Carl Fredricksen and his performance as Santa in Elf. All I can say is rest in peace, Ed Asner, and your work will forever live on, and may he rest in peace now that he is reunited with Christopher Plummer. Alright, that is nice. My first introduction to Ed Asner was his role as Carl Fredricksen in Up when I saw it in theaters as a kid, and he did an amazing job with his role. Since then, I have kept seeing his performance from time to time in movies and shows such as Elf, The Boondocks, Cobra Kai, a Christmas episode of Regular Show where he played a badass version of Santa, and one episode of The Mary Tyler Moore Show for a film TV class for college. He is a terrific actor, and I can't believe he passed away suddenly. Rest in peace. Yeah, honestly, that is kind of the one thing that I personally feel like I would debate. I don't know if I could say excuse me. I don't know if I could really say if it really is sudden. Especially with the fact that you got to keep in mind, the dude was old. He died of natural causes, and he died at the age of 91. I think it is safe to say that Ed Asner lived a pretty good and full life. So I don't know if I would say that it is sudden. I think the best way to describe it is that it's surprising, but not surprising at the same time. Yeah, he passed away, and I mean, I don't think there's any argument as to what happened and stuff like that. But it definitely is something that you didn't expect to hear. I will give you that. That is true. You wouldn't expect to hear one day that Ed Asner has passed away, because he seems like one of those old actors that would just keep on going, especially with the kind of energy that Ed Asner had. He just kept on doing performance after performance after performance. There was literally only death was able to stop Ed Asner from doing what he loved. Let's see, what else do we have here? This news makes me sad. Ed Asner was a very beloved actor. I actually recognize him as Carl Fredricksen, J. Jonah Jameson in the animated Spider-Man series, and Santa Claus from Elf, which happened to be my favorite Christmas movie of all time, along with my family. Not only that, he also reprised his role as Santa in that animated short Elf Buddy's Musical Christmas, and not only that Santa in the regular show Christmas special. Seriously, this guy is full-on Santa Claus. Rest in peace, Ed Asner. Yeah, I guess you could say he played Santa 2.5 times. One time in Elf, another time in regular show, and I say 2.5 because technically the other time he played Santa in Buddy's Musical Christmas, well, technically it's the same Santa that we did have before in the 2003 live action movie. I'm just saying. All right. Let's see, I'll read 2 more comments before we move on to the next story here. Let's see, what else do we have? Did I read this one? Okay, no. Ed Asner was a devoted TV actor, husband, and parent. I first fully found this guy as Carl Fredricksen in Pixar's Up. I actually didn't know he was a union activist back when he was alive. It's also worth mentioning his other roles as Santa in Jon Favreau's Elf. This is the second Up cast member dead, with the first being Christopher Plummer. I have no other words other than may the dude rest in peace, gone but never forgotten. Yeah, that is true. And I mean, in terms of his political activism, one thing, like, if there is one political subject that he was the most strong, like, the one that he felt the most strong about, like, the one thing that he was a major supporter is union. Like, Ed Asner was one of the most prominent pro-union actors that you could ever find. I mean, there was a legitimate reason why he was a legitimate SAG president. And even before he passed away, like, he was still like being a political activist in terms of unions and supporting union workers and supporting union organizations as well. So if there is one political subject matter that Ed Asner was the most prominent and that he cared the most about, it has to be union workers or just unions in general. All right, so let's see one more comment. This news is absolutely devastating. Oh no, I think I already read that one. Sorry about that. Yes. I will admit that I don't know a lot about any of his live action movies Ed was in, but I certainly love his work in animated shows and movies, whether it was J. Jonah Jameson from the animated Spider-Man series, Mike Cosgrove from Freakazoid, or especially Carl from Up. From what I've read, there are still a lot of movies and shows, most notably Doug Days, that hasn't been released yet, which he will be in, so we will still get a bit more of Ed Asner in the future. May Ed Asner rest in peace. Yeah, it's going to be a little tough moving on now because considering the amount of roles Ed Asner was in and the enthusiasm that he has in terms of like being in like whatever work he may find. Yeah, like even though he has passed away, there's no denying that we will see a little bit more of Ed and his works that he has done before ultimately this moment happened. So once again, may Ed Asner rest in peace, and may he forever be happy up there now that Carl is finally reunited with Ellie. Okay, so I know that started things out a little bit sad, but now it is time that we shall go and move on to our next story, and we're going to go and immediately brighten things up. And in order to help out with the mood, I'm going to go and knock out several stories, like several smaller stories, I guess you could say, honorable mentions of what happened throughout the week that are just too small of stories to go and discuss here. But just to go and quickly mention, there have been some interesting news that did pop out in both the stage world and in the video game world. In terms of video games, you probably heard about several little announcements that did occur. For Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, they announced 2 new characters that can be playable, which includes Cat Dog and April O'Neil. And then there is an announcement regarding Fall Guys, where there's going to be new costumes that will be available soon that are based on Walt Disney's 1967 classic, The Jungle Book, where you can go and dress up your avatar character as either Baloo, Mowgli, King Louie, and Shere Khan. Why they went with The Jungle Book, and specifically that Jungle Book, and not like the 2016 movie or something like that, I have no clue. Maybe gamers probably have a little bit of a fondness for the Jungle Book. Who the fridge knows? And also, one more announcement, and probably the most random news that you could ever imagine, is regarding Geoff Keighley. If you are a gamer, then Geoff Keighley is probably a very familiar name, a prominent host of many different video game shows, as well as a prominent video game journalist himself. Well, apparently, Geoff Keighley, while he was making several announcements for new games that are going to be coming soon for the rest of the year and in 2022 and stuff like that, he also said one of the most unexpected things I could ever imagine. Geoff Keighley is going to be a head bust in Muppets Haunted Mansion. I never thought in my life that I would legitimately say that, or that we are officially going to be living in a world where there's going to be a Muppets Halloween special themed to the Haunted Mansion that will feature Geoff Keighley as a singing head bust. What the fridge is going on? Like, I mean, you cannot get any more Mad Lib than that. And if we are going to get into that theme of pure randomness, then honestly, if we're going in that direction, then I better expect an Unis Honest reunion happen there. But anyways, going back to more honorable mention news, in the stage world, we did actually get our first previews of some upcoming stage musicals based on some Disney movies. They did release some first pictures for the upcoming stage adaptation of Bedknobs and Broomsticks. And as for the Broadway adaptation of Winnie the Pooh, they actually revealed the first images of what the puppets are going to look like based on Christopher Robin's friends, from Pooh to Tigger to Eeyore to Rabbit to Owl to Kanga to Roo and also Piglet. And they're definitely adorable. And that was actually the news that I wanted to fully talk about, honestly. But then, just today, actually, there was some legitimate breaking news that did occur. There was something that I gotta admit was something fully unexpected that actually did announce, and just in case you guys haven't heard, this is actually an actual Disney news. Yes, folks, there's gonna be a Jungle Cruise 2. Yes, Disney has officially announced today that the Jungle Cruise, the latest movie based on the classic Disney attraction in which it stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Emily Blunt, it has been revealed that there is indeed going to be a sequel to that particular movie. And we don't know any of the specifics just yet, but it has been confirmed that apparently many of the people or the prominent people who worked on it, they will actually be involved with it. So yes, Dwayne Johnson is coming back as the skipper Frank Wolf. Emily Blunt will be returning as Dr. Lily Houghton. And on top of that, we also got several people who are going to be on board in terms of the crew. So let me just go and read you here. This is from my source on The Hollywood Reporter, but we also got co-writer Mike Green, who's going to be coming back to write the script for this. And on top of that, we also got director Joan Colette Serra, who will be coming back as the director, and even the producing team will be returning as well, which includes John Davis, John Fox, Beau Flynn, Dwayne Johnson, Danny Garcia, and Hiram Garcia will be coming back, as well as Scott Sheldon as the executive producers. So already I could tell there are some people in the chat that are asking why. Why is it that Disney wants to go and make a sequel to the Jungle Cruise? Well, the thing is that right now, when it comes to the Jungle Cruise, it is a legitimate box office hit, because just this weekend, it has made official that the Jungle Cruise managed to achieve something that very few 2021 movies actually managed to do, and that is surpass the $100 million mark at the domestic box office. So now that it finally managed to do that, that's pretty much the signal for Disney to say that it is a solid box office hit. That is a sign that people would want more. And now they're going to go and be ready to go and make another Jungle Cruise movie. So one thing that I would like to say, and one thing I will admit that is actually very unexpected, is just the fact that, like, right now, they would go and do this. Like I said, I was honestly prepared to go and talk about the Winnie the Pooh story just to go and lighten things up with, after talking about Ed Asner and stuff like that. But then suddenly this popped up and I was like, okay, well, might as well go and add this onto the roster. You know, this was honestly a legitimate last minute add-on over here. And, just to go and quickly give you my thoughts on the Jungle Cruise movie, yes, I did watch it, and I did actually do a pretty good review, honestly. To be very honest, I would say that Jungle Cruise review is honestly one of my favorites that I've done this year. Honestly, it was definitely a lot of fun trying to do this whole skipper-themed Jungle Cruise style of review and really emulating the style of the Jungle Cruise ride. Definitely a lot of fun. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. But honestly, just to go and quickly summarize my thoughts on the Jungle Cruise movie, is that it's not good, but it's fun. I appreciate it a lot more as like an action-packed popcorn flick blockbuster, more so than it is as a movie in itself. Because one thing I will say that is a massive detraction for me is the fact that this is like it's so obvious in terms of its soulless intentions that it's trying to be Pirates of the Caribbean without actually being Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, you could tell that Disney really wants to still try to capitalize on that franchise, but they can't really do it right now because of Johnny Depp's situation. I mean, it's been 5 years since the whole Johnny Depp controversy has been going on, and regardless of which side you may take on that whole thing, like rather it be you're fully on the side of Johnny Depp or you're more on the side of Amber Heard or stuff like that, the fact that it is still going, like, for movie theaters, they cannot be patient enough to wait until Johnny Depp can resolve that situation, and eventually they decided to just move on without him. Like, if he managed to settle, like, if Johnny Depp managed to settle it in court, then, like, it would probably help out with movie theaters and his reputation, but the fact that it's still happening, movie theaters would rather just keep their distance from him. So that's why Disney right now, they're not really so keen in making another Pirates of the Caribbean movie with Jack Sparrow, and instead they want to go and move on with another highly prominent actor with another highly prominent ride that they have at their disposal, which in this case is the Jungle Cruise with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So with those kinds of intentions, they were a lot more of a turnoff for me, and I would rather just go and have something that would have a more original concept. And that's really my problem with it. It's that it doesn't feel original, and it just feels like a Pirates of the Caribbean ripoff. But does that mean that I hate it? Honestly, no. I do see a lot of great qualities that the movie does have. I mean, the action is definitely a lot of fun. There's a great charisma and great performances coming from Emily Blunt and Dwayne Johnson. And I do like the way that, like, it is simultaneously an homage and a satire to the Jungle Cruise ride itself, where it's not afraid to poke fun of some of the more problematic aspects. Like, one thing I also really liked is actually the involvement of Trader Sam, who is an actual character from the ride, but they actually updated that character to not only become a woman, but also to flat out say, okay, come on, dude, this whole Ooga Booga shtick, yeah, it's getting old, man. It's just freaking stupid. Where's my money? Like, that part I actually did like. That was actually a lot of fun to see. So again, I wouldn't say it's a good movie, but it definitely is a fun movie. And in the case right over here, the fact that now it's officially getting a sequel, like, honestly, the more I look at this, the more I feel like I can understand why they are doing this, why Disney would legitimately go and take action to go and make a follow-up to the Jungle Cruise, because in a way, the Jungle Cruise is a legitimate box office hit that very few movies nowadays could legitimately accomplish. And you really got to keep in mind, the standards of what can be considered a box office hit is completely different because of the pandemic. What is considered a box office hit nowadays is certainly not like what a box office hit was back in 2019. And like I said before, the fact that this movie made over $100 million at the box office, that's a miracle. That is the equivalent of if a movie back in 2019 made $1 billion at the box office worldwide. And yeah, right now, the numbers don't really seem that impressive because as I'm recording this, the Jungle Cruise now has a total of $187 million worldwide. But the big reason why the Jungle Cruise is considered a massive hit is not because of the numbers that they have in total, but because of how it was consistently marketable, the way that it is consistently profitable. And that's one thing that not many movies are capable of doing, especially nowadays. A great example of what I mean is take a look at movies such as Black Widow or even Space Jam: A New Legacy. On their first opening weekend, they were spectacular. They made a very significant amount of money, like really big numbers right on the spot, and it looks like the box office is coming back to life. But then, on its second weekend, like, it just took a massive nosedive, and their relevancy almost disappeared right then and there. And it ultimately became a bit of a flop. So, like, it did give us a harsh lesson that you can't immediately judge a movie's success by its opening weekend, because you never know if in the second week it would just crash and burn immediately. And not just those two movies, but we also saw that recently with the Suicide Squad. That also occurred at the same time. But then you would have the Jungle Cruise, which, for like, as I'm recording this, it consistently stayed among the top 5 at the box office, where for a whole week it remained at number 1, and then there are times when it would go down, like at number 2, because like there are some other new major releases, and then you would see it like fluctuate from being at number 1, number 2, and then sometimes there was being at number 3, and then like just this week, like it consistently got into number 4 at the box office. Like, just quickly going into what we just recently got, just looking into this. Yeah, like right now, Candyman is number 1 at the box office, since that is the new major movie, which is then followed by Free Guy, and then you also got Paw Patrol as well. And the thing, right, and by the way, just a quick side note, like another major movie that's following the same footsteps as the Jungle Cruise is Free Guy, considering that one is also being like it's not like massively big in terms of the numbers that it got, but it is being consistent in terms of its numbers. And ultimately, the Jungle Cruise is pretty much teaching us right now that in order to determine what can be considered a success at the box office is not by looking at its opening weekend or looking at the first week or two, but you got to look at the whole, like how it does for a whole month. You got to see the performance that it does, like from time, like as it follows through the box office, as it goes through the pandemic. And you got to keep in mind, like, when it comes to the Jungle Cruise, it really did come in at a very unfortunate time. Like, that movie was actually released right when the Delta variant was just starting, and it was and that ignited a brand new wave. And even if that was happening, like, that still didn't necessarily stop people from wanting to go see the Jungle Cruise on the big screen, or at least enough to go and actually make it reach $100 million at the box office. And also, another thing that I do want to highlight, another important factor regarding the major hit of the Jungle Cruise and how it became successful at the box office, is not only did it make over $100 million at the domestic box office, but you gotta keep in mind, Jungle Cruise is one of those movies that had a simultaneous release where it was out on the big screen and on Disney Plus. And we all know about the controversial premium access that Disney Plus has, that they would go and they would charge $30 in order to go and see it on streaming, to go and watch something like the Jungle Cruise at home. And in that regard, like, really think about it. The fact that the Jungle Cruise made a very rare thing happen of surpassing $100 million at the domestic box office, and the extra money that Disney already made with the Disney Plus subscription service, then at that point, I think that really does signify that I know the Jungle Cruise does have a very hefty budget, but chances are, I think that is a very good sign that the Jungle Cruise is a major hit, and that there is a legitimate demand for more Jungle Cruise content, for more stuff, for more content to see Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt going on these jungle-like adventures. And you know, it's kind of funny that now, like, honestly, I personally didn't think it would legitimately happen, especially when, like, I was thinking maybe a lot of people would just pass this off as just Disney desperately trying to go and capitalize on the massive success of Jumanji, especially with having Dwayne Johnson as the star. But it looks like The Jungle and Dwayne Johnson seems to be a pretty winning formula right now, especially if they're going to go and actually do another one, if they want to go and actually have Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt go and make another Jungle Cruise movie. So, but anyways, with all that said, though, going back into the aspect that there is going to be another Jungle Cruise sequel, am I going to be excited to go and check this one out? Am I going to be hyped up to see it? Honestly, I would say, I'm not gonna say like, oh, this is gonna suck, this is gonna fail. I'm gonna be more like, we're gonna have to wait and see with how things go. I mean, maybe this could, like, honestly, this could actually be a great opportunity for the movie to go and improve upon some of the flaws that it may have in the first, that maybe in this one, they'll be, like, this will be a lot less like Pirates of the Caribbean, and it'll have an opportunity to be its more of its own thing. But I'm not gonna expect anything grand that could come out of it. I mean, I could be wrong, and it, like, maybe the sequel could blow my expectations. But yeah, honestly, at this point, though, I will say with the performance that it did at the box office, and especially with some of the things that have been holding it back, like, I would say, yeah, you know what? Maybe with the way it performed at the box office, maybe not necessarily as a movie itself, but for what it did, maybe it does merit a sequel, because it's one of those very rare movies that came out during the pandemic that turned out to be a legitimate hit. So maybe Disney really is onto something with this Jungle Cruise movie, and there is quite a demand for it. Okay, so with that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about a Jungle Cruise sequel coming out soon? Are you a fan of the first movie? What are your thoughts on the first film? And how do you feel that we are going to get another one? Let me know what you think on this. Okay, so let's see what we got here. All right. A sequel already. I didn't get to see the first one yet, and the Disney Plus in my country doesn't allow pay-to-watch movies. Then again, Pirates of the Caribbean is or was a billion-dollar franchise based on a Disney ride, so it makes sense. But still, this is a bit too quick. I'm still waiting for them to announce an Enchanted Tiki Room movie. Actually, you know what? I this just immediately popped into my head. And honestly, that would be something I would really like to see in the Jungle Cruise sequel. I would love to see if they can go and legitimately find a way to tie in with the Enchanted Tiki Room. I know that sounds like a stupid joke, but really think about it. Because in the first movie, there is one legitimate element that they did introduce that is technically connected to the Enchanted Tiki Room, and that is the inclusion of Rosita. Because Rosita has been a long-running gag in the Enchanted Tiki Room, and it wasn't until like a few years ago that Disney decided to legitimately add Rosita as part of the Jungle Cruise ride, just to go and add her in as like a little Easter egg. And lo and behold, suddenly Rosita actually did find her way to actually go and appear into, to go and appear in the actual Jungle Cruise movie. So honestly, that would be something I would definitely be on board in. Like somehow find a way to have this kind of weird crossover with the Jungle Cruise and the Enchanted Tiki Room, where suddenly you have Emily Blunt and Dwayne Johnson interacting with Jose, Michael, Pierre, and Fritz. I don't know about you, but that would be one way to encourage me to get more on board with this Jungle Cruise sequel. All right, anyways, moving right along. I saw Jungle Cruise in theaters last month, and I had an okay-ish time with it, but I gotta ask one question. Not why, but what? What can they do with a Jungle Cruise sequel? But as long as they feature Dwayne Johnson going on a wild ride, making more dad jokes, I'm hooked. But if they don't get the Jack Whitehall dude back, then Disney, I say, gentlemen, you could take this sequel and shove it up your association. Oh, that could be another thing they could do, actually. And that's also one thing I forgot to give credit to the Jungle Cruise movie, is that, like, yeah, this is one of those movies where, yeah, they did shove in a gay character, but unlike the other gay characters that Disney had before, like with LeFou or that one weird gay guy in Cruella, this one does legitimately make sense. Like, his gayness actually does play a factor in his character and does give him a little bit of a backstory. And maybe they could actually play with that a little bit more in the sequel, or actually give that Jack Whitehall character a legitimate boyfriend. Like, that could actually go and give Disney a lot more brownie points and a lot more diversity points if they can actually really go more into the gayness of that character. So that could actually be a good opportunity with this sequel. I don't know why. Honestly, talking with you guys, like you're helping me you helped me open my eyes to see that maybe a Jungle Cruise sequel could actually be a good idea. All right. Anyways, what else do we got here? When it comes to Jungle Cruise, I thought it was mediocre, mostly because this movie is too similar, not just to the Pirates films, but to the 1999 Mummy movie as well, along with bad editing and bland CGI. With Disney making a sequel to The Jungle Cruise, I'm not going to be all that excited unless they improve some parts, but either way, happy to see at least being successful at the box office, and good luck to them making a sequel during those times. Yeah, that's also going to be another challenge, is actually going to be making the sequel itself. But then again, we are pretty much at an age where, like, vaccine mandates are becoming more and more of a legitimate thing, and especially in the entertainment industry, having a vaccine right now is pretty much essential. So, honestly, as long as they are vaccinated and as long as they keep their masks on, well, not while the camera is rolling, of course, but, whenever it's, like, necessary to have the mask, then they should be fine. Let's see, what else do we have here? Well, this is unexpected. I never thought they would plan a Jungle Cruise sequel, even though I enjoyed the movie. But it wasn't enough to be any good. Since the movie became a hit, looks like they are going to make the Haunted Mansion adaptation, a Pirates of the Caribbean reboot, and a Space Mountain movie. What's next? An Enchanted Tiki Room movie? I already talked about that. Or maybe an It's a Small World movie? If they ever thought about adapting those two movies to make them animated, I don't think I would be up for this idea. Yeah, that's also another thing that I haven't thought, but that is actually true. Considering that they did officially announce a sequel, I think this does also greenlight the possibility that we might end up seeing more movies based on Disney rides. And considering that Disney does have that Haunted Mansion movie that is going to be coming soon, that is one thing I will admit that it does make me a little bit concerned, especially when they announced that that in terms of the main characters that will be among the cast, they got one guy that I forgot his name, but they also got Tiffany Haddish as well. And that's the part where it kind of scares me because, oh god, it looks like they might be repeating the same mistakes as the 2003 movie. It's not going to be a reboot, but maybe it's going to be more of a remake. Who knows? Because you might see Tiffany Haddish going Eddie Murphy all around the mansion. That could legitimately be a possibility, and it has me a little bit worried. All right, I think I'm going to read one more comment before we jump into the next story now. I'll go with you. This was an absolute surprise. Personally, I thought the Jungle Cruise movie was good, but not great. But it was still a lot of fun, so I definitely would be open to a sequel, especially if they truly want this to be their next Pirates of the Caribbean. So overall, I think this has potential. Also, when it comes to the Jungle Cruise success, it may also be thanks to the Disney Plus Premier Access. Let's just hope they don't milk it like Pirates. Yeah, let's just hope, man. I mean, yeah, Disney finally has a new franchise that they can go and develop, especially during these times, which is honestly very difficult to do. But let's just hope that they don't do like Pirates of the Caribbean and they don't overdo it. All right, so moving right along to our next story. What we have over here is actually going to be a trailer. And with this trailer over here, this is something that already the animation community is truly excited about, especially regarding the creator of this little animated special. So, with that said, let us now go into the trailer of Jorge Gutierrez's next animated project, Maya and the Three.
Here we go.
She looks like a real princess. Maya, are you okay? Can we help you?
I got this. locked up because I'm a princess. I could be a great eagle warrior.
This is no place for a girl!
Holy cacao!
Danger approaches. You must fulfill the true prophecy.
Oh, Princesa Maya, come out to play.
What the?
Courage runs through your veins, princess.
I am Princess Maya, Tekka Eagle Warrior. If it is to be, it is up to me.
There's a word for people who always do heroic things?
Heroes.
Dead. Yeah, the word is dead.
And that is Maya and the Three, which they've officially revealed that it is going to be coming soon this fall. And one thing that I will say immediately is just, well, isn't that interesting? Because Netflix and Jorge Gutierrez basically made a Disney movie. I think that's really the best way to put it, is that in a way, there's a lot of it that truly feels like a legitimate Disney movie. Now, of course, this isn't a Disney movie because A, it's not from Disney, and two, this is actually a mini-series more so than it is an actual feature film. But it's kind of funny, honestly, because you do have a lot of very similar themes. Like, all it needed was just to be a musical and it would already be good to go. But you do see a lot of similar elements that you would find from Disney, especially with the fact that it stars a princess who wants to go on a major adventure, who's looking for like something more to life than the royalty that she pretty much has amongst her kingdom. So she would go on this epic adventure. Like, already just by looking at this trailer alone, I feel like there's already a whole bunch of similarities to some of the recent Disney princess type movies like Tangled or Moana or even Frozen in a way. You actually do see a lot of that, but instead right here, it's actually very Mesoamerican themed, and that's like the major thing it wants to go and highlight. It's not necessarily the princess angle of it all, but it's really the Mesoamerican aspect. And already from what I can tell, holy crap, like the fact that this is a series and not an animated movie, like it's just phenomenal. Like, this thing looks absolutely gorgeous. I mean, there is that side that is a little bit tragic because just recently the studio that actually provided this animation unfortunately shut down, but this animation is just absolutely beautiful. And yeah, there is a little bit of that aspect of the Book of Life did actually come back, where the art style of Jorge Gutierrez is translated very well and beautifully onto CG animation, developing this 3D and really immersive world. But one thing I do admire is also the way that they brought in his detail. Like, the sheer amount of detail that they would put in the costumes and onto the characters also. Like, one admirable thing is actually the deer at the beginning of the at the beginning of the trailer, where you see like this massive deer that's walking in front of Maya's parents, and I believe is carrying a baby Maya, and is completely made out of branches. And not only that, but even like all the different costumes that you see, like right over here, just the sheer detail, all the different skulls, and all the hard work that's just put onto the designs itself is just truly admirable. Like, this is legitimately an eye candy of a series. It's like every frame is just absolutely gorgeous to look at. And not only that, but especially with the sheer amount of detail that they would go and include, one thing that's also really admirable is just the creativity of it all. The way that it's truly going to be embracing Mesoamerican like the way that it's going to be embracing Mesoamerican legends, Mesoamerican lore, Mesoamerican culture, like really embracing that in order to create this truly amazing world that very few animated features have tapped into. I mean, like the last time we've truly dived into, or at least like there have probably been some animated projects recently that did go into that, but the last time that we've seen an animated project that truly dove into the world of Mesoamerican culture that at least I could think of is The Road to El Dorado, and that was like 20 years ago, back in the year 2000. And here we also see, like, we do see some of that, but like even more so than El Dorado, where they like everything about it is just Mesoamerican and like has that aspect, has that culture, and just has that artistry and detail that is just put into it in order to go and create something that would be fully action-packed. And that's one thing that they are also promoting here, is just the action that they are promising, like not only a whole bunch of threatening creative characters that Maya and her crew would have to go and fight, like especially like these rogue of villains that we have over here, but on top of that, like the promise of like the amount of like effects that are going to be used and the action, like the fight scenes, like those are major promises that they are going to be delivering. Is that this is definitely going to be a lot more action packed than what we would have in than what we would previously have in the Book of Life. So honestly, just looking at it, I can tell already that the animation is just so beautifully crafted. I would almost say masterfully crafted even. And already, just by the visuals alone, it's already giving me a lot of promise. And even a lot of the concepts that they are delivering to me holds a lot of promise, holds a lot of aspects that I feel like, yeah, this is definitely going to be such a one-of-a-kind feature that I cannot wait to see be brought to life. Or, well, not a feature. I kept saying feature, but this is actually a mini-series. I mean, just by the look of it, it looks like something that could definitely be that could definitely be more than deserving to be a part of the big screen. But apparently, there's going to be a lot of content of it. It's going to be this, from what I recall, is a 9-episode miniseries. So yeah, we're going to get a lot more of that kind of content. I don't know if the episodes are going to be just a half hour or if they are going to be an hour long, but I don't know. Either way, though, the stuff that they are promising looks, it looks extremely good. And it is exciting to know that the fact that it is going to be longer than a movie, technically, means that there's going to be a lot of materials that they are going to be delivering. However, there is one criticism that I do want to give. And I mean, I understand if a lot of people would call me out and say that this is just like massively nitpicking. Like, I will admit, it is just a very minor concept, but it's just one small thing for me that I feel like was a little bit cringy. And that is actually regarding right at the end where we see one of the eyes of the characters. No, not this one. My God, like this thing looks absolutely beautiful to see. It's hold on, is it? Yeah. Oh no, it's no wait, no. Okay, no, it's not you. Sorry. Yeah, it's like, yeah. No, wait. Sorry. There we go. Yeah, this thing. Fudge nabbit. Could you? Yeah, this thing right here. Honestly, my problem with it is just these eyes. They're terrible. I hate these eyes. And I know that is a very minor aspect, and especially like regarding the rest of the character actually does look very good, from like the crazy hair that he has to the costume and even some of the makeup. But the eyes here, they look awful. They just honestly look terrible. And the reason why I would really be nitpicky on the eyes is because if there is one aspect of the design, like when you are drawing a character, one thing you should never mess up is the eyes. Because the eyes are technically the window to the soul. And the eyes are going to be the grand majority of the time that you are directly going to be looking at a character, rather if they are like live action from an actor, or if they are a cartoon character like this. Like, the more you look at the eyes, the more that you see like the kind of emotions that they would go and convey. And if you mess up the eyes, then it's good. Like, it doesn't matter how well crafted the rest of the character looks. That character is going to be like, it's going to be hard to look at them, and they're going to be honestly unwatchable. And my problem here with the eyes is the fact that they're more oval than they are round, or at least they're more oval in the way that they are standing up. And that is especially, like, yeah, there are ways that you can actually make that work, but it does not work well for computer animation, especially with something like this, where not only is it oval and it's in a three-dimensional type of character, but it's also they add pupils as well. It's like they're trying to make a character realistic, but it just doesn't work out. It looks disgusting, honestly. I know it sounds pretty harsh, but it's just, I can't look at this guy. Seriously, especially with the type of eyes. It looks more like cat. It looks more like the character has cat eyes in a way. Like, this character design would have worked much better if they just gave him like black pupils and that's it. You know, kind of like go in the same kind of direction like they did with the Mitchells versus the Machines or the Willoughbys. Those actually do very well with those like black pupil cartoony eyes. Like, if they had legitimate colored irises, it would honestly ruin the whole design altogether. I know it's a minor aspect, but again, the eyes are the most important aspect of a character. And if you mess that up, you ruin the whole design. And it's the same, like, it just looks unnatural. It just tells me this is not human. This looks like, it almost looks cat-eyed in a way. It looks more like a weird cat creature. And he's not the only one either. Like, there's also another part, like, yeah, this guy, like, okay, like, several of these guys also, they kind of have, like, They kind of have the wide pupils as well, and they look more like cat people in a way. I mean, yeah, they're dressed up like jaguars in a sense, but like, I don't know if that's the actual intention, if they are jaguar guys, or if it's just because of the designs. But either way, I just gotta say, like, I know it's a very minor feature, but still, these eyes, this is a bad design. Like, this right here, it's minor, but it's just bad. Like, this is the one problem that I do have in all this that makes a terrible character design. But again, I know it's just a very minor and a pretty nitpicky type of aspect. It doesn't change, however, that I really admire the rest of the animation, that they look amazing, that they look beautiful, and I'm definitely hyped up to see what this miniseries has. So apparently it's going to be coming out this fall, but yeah, I'm honestly pretty hyped up with what they have here with this series. Honestly, I'm really hyped up with what they got and really excited. I don't know if we truly have a release date as of yet. This trailer says it's going to be coming out this fall, but yeah, we'll see how things go with this. All right. So with that said, let's go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about the trailer for Maya and the Three? Are you guys excited to check this one out? Are you guys curious to see the series? Are you more pessimistic about it? Let me know what you all think about this. All right. All right, let's see now. A warrior princess who is cooped up in her kingdom by her family. Didn't Brave already did something like that? But aside from that, I am dead excited to see this show, and I would go and see how it can expand on its world building. Watch out, Elena of Avalor. You got competition for who is the best Latin American themed cartoon featuring a princess. Well, I mean, to be fair, Maya and the Three is going for a different audience than Elena, because Elena is more for like a preschool type of audience, while Maya and the Three is more for like a family type of audience. So, I mean, I don't think it would be that much of a direct competition. Let's see now. This project looks absolutely gorgeous, and even if it's only a series, I'd be glad to see it. If I can manage to have if it can manage to have a sufficient budget and get a Netflix, if I can have a sufficient budget and get a Netflix subscription. Also, is there an animated movie that delves into the culture of Native Canadian tribes? If yes, I'd be happy to see it. I'm in awe with all the lore and tradition of those people, which should be preserved more for future generations. Well, to be very honest, I'm sure there have been several, and there would probably be a whole lot of independent animated features that would go into, into Native Canadian culture. But in terms of the mainstream ones that I could think of, the most that I could probably guess would have to be Brother Bear. Because technically, I think that movie is actually set in Canada, and they do have prominent natives that are featured and go into native mythology and native lore and stuff like that. So I think the most that you would be looking for in that would probably be Brother Bear. Let's see what else we got. I have yet to finish the Book of Life, but of what I have seen, it's pretty good. Honestly, you should finish it. It's actually a pretty solid film. But with this trailer, I'm quite intrigued. The animation has a nice style to it. The storyline is pretty intriguing. And I got a good laugh from the dead. That would be dead. The word is dead line. So I'll most likely give it a watch. Once I'm done watching Book of Life, of course. But to be fair, I'm watching it to see the Baba Grill, I'm a weirdo meme that's been circulating around TikTok. Oh boy. So, did Book of Life finally got a meme? I think it's honestly about time, honestly. It's honestly one of those animated films that feels like it has a lot of material that meme culture has yet to fully tap upon, seriously. Like, you need to rewatch you need to rewatch the Book of Life, at least to see, what could be a strong potential meme, what would be a good meme? I mean, it's already enough that we have seen, a lot of cosplayers fully embracing the Book of Life. Why not meme culture? Let's see what else we have. This trailer definitely got my interest. Jorge Gutierrez has already proven how he can make his own style of animation and theming, and this is no exception. The animation is very well done, and this series seems like it could have potential. Also, I think we should support the series, especially it's the final work from Tangent Animation, which closed down not too long ago. Yeah, that's why there is going to be a bit of that, there is going to be a bit of that sadness with this kind of animation, considering that it is going to be the grand finale of Tangent Animation, and that they were unfortunately the victim of COVID, and business was really not going well, and Netflix was not on board with the other projects they were working on, so they had to unfortunately close down. So at the very least, for animation fans, do it for the animators of Tangent Animation, because it'll show you a great example of what they were capable of doing. All right, let's see what else we got here. I wasn't really interested in this project at first, but after seeing this trailer, Jesus, this is beautiful to look at. The concepts are holding a candle to a feature-length series, the characters seem fascinating so far, and the animation is absolutely bonkers and can be pretty useful for its storytelling. This looks like a pretty promising project by the creator of El Tigre. I'll definitely be checking this series out soon. Well, when it comes out, of course. You gotta wait for that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Yes, yep, this certainly looks like Jorge Gutierrez's work. While I'm not fully into the story so far, the animation, the style, and the action we see so far is just spectacular, especially the designs, with my favorite being the deer. It will certainly feel like a breath of fresh air to see some Mesoamerican culture in animation again since El Dorado. It is sad, though, that this will be Tangent Animation's last work, because you could tell that they put in a lot of work onto this. Oh yeah, definitely. You could tell that there was a lot of passion behind it and a lot of enthusiasm in order to go and create something that is truly different that we have yet to see. Something that is even different compared to the Book of Life. All right, I think I'll read one more comment before we move on to the next story. Let's see. I am so excited for Maya and the Three. The animation looks fantastic, the action scenes are cool, the voice cast looks incredible, and the Mesoamerican aspect is beautiful and respectful. As a Mexican person myself, I hope that this series will impact me. And I also have a good question for you. Why is Gamora? Why is Gamora here? Well, I mean, the funny thing to mention, like I have yet to talk about, is the fact that it definitely has a very prominent cast, like a very massive list of recognizable names, like not just Zoe Saldana, you also got Gabriel Iglesias, because of freaking course, you got Alfred Molina is in here, you got Danny Trejo, Cheech Marin, Rita Moreno, Queen Latifah is in this, you got, well, Jorge Gutierrez is also in the movie. I believe he is playing as Maya's dad, I believe. I could be wrong on that. You also got Diego Luna. You got so many prominent names, most of which are Latin American. So yeah, like you also got a very prominent cast that's in this that will give you the confidence that they will do a good job. So yes, this series is definitely going to be coming out this fall, and I certainly am one of those people that can't wait to see Jorge Gutierrez's version of Mesoamerica. Okay, so for our next story, what we have here is going to be something a little bit special. I have not one, but two trailers, and no, the second trailer is not part of the grand finale. Now, the reason why I'm going to be combining two trailers together for one story is because these are actually very short trailers. They're both 30 seconds each, so I figured, they seem pretty interesting to talk about, and they seem like pretty short, quick stories to, really get into. But in this case here, I figured why not combine the two to make one full story. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at our first mini trailer with Doug Days. Whoops, I forgot to back that thing up. Hold on a sec. There we go.
I am Doug, and this makes me squirrel. I am warning you once again, and I will not warn you after that. Doug!
Get out of Maya's aliens.
I digged them.
Yeah, it's not digged, it's dug.
Yes?
No, you didn't digged, you dug.
I am Doug. Squirrel!
And that is Doug Days, which is actually going to be coming out very, very soon on September 1st. Or if you are watching this on YouTube, it's actually available now. And I mean, there really isn't a whole lot that I could honestly say about this. This is really just this slice of life type of little series, or just a little collection of shorts that stars Doug. It's just it's just a bunch of shorts where a dog is just being a dog. And honestly, that feels like a very perfect formula. And you add in that extra bonus of the fact that it is the beloved characters from Up, that it features Doug, that it features Carl Fredricksen, and that it also features Russell, that they're going to be coming back, and that we're going to be seeing a simple sequel that oh, sorry. Woo! Don't worry, it's not what you think. It's just saliva going down the wrong hole. But anyways, as I was saying, in this case over here, it's nothing gonna be, there is nothing fantastical about it. I don't think there's gonna be anything extraordinary. It's gonna be more like a slice of life kind of show, and a slice of life kind of set of shorts where we just see a dog with a talking mechanism, and he's just living his life with his new master, which is Carl Fredricksen, and from time to time you do see Russell coming in. And one thing I will say, as a fan of Up, the one thing I'm glad to see that is also going to be a new character, we have the squirrel, because I mean, it's a very prominent running gag in Up where we see Doug just always getting distracted by squirrel. That's something that has been quoted by about everyone. What kind of person who hasn't seen what kind of person who has seen Up did not do that squirrel reference. Let's be honest. It's something that everyone has honestly done. And honestly, I'm glad to see that there's going to be a little moment, or at least one short, where they really are going to take advantage of the squirrel, where we, like, what if Doug finally sees a squirrel? And the one thing I would like to go and mention is actually the people who are actually going to be involved, and the prominent person who is going to be working on this that does give me confidence that this is actually going to be a very enjoyable set of shorts is the fact that Bob Peterson is going to be in charge. Not only is he the voice of Doug, that he's going to be coming back as Doug, but he is also the director and the writer of these shorts. So if there's going to be anyone who knows Doug more than anyone else, it has to be Bob Peterson. And yes, of course, we are going to see the comeback of Ed Asner returning as Carl Fredricksen for this series of shorts. So in a way, because of that, it kind of makes it an unfortunately perfect opportunity for Disney to go and release this. Now, bear in mind, Disney is not doing this on purpose to release Doug Days soon after the passing of Ed Asner. That was something that was completely unintentional. It was announced on August 26th that they were going to release it on September 1st. So that's why I say it was very unfortunate, because I know this is going to be something that a lot of people are very much going to be hyped up about, that they are going to be excited to see the comeback of their beloved characters like Carl, Russell, and Doug, you know, coming back in new adventures and with, you know, new and gorgeous animation, might I add. Like, that's another great thing. Yeah, that's another thing that is great to see in here. The animation, my God, is just absolutely stellar, but it's also very unfortunate because the reason why this is so hyped up and why so many people are definitely going to be seeing this, it's all for the reasons you wish it weren't. Like, yeah, I do wish for this to be a success, but I didn't wish because that it's, you know, I don't want it to be because Ed Asner passed away and we're doing it in honor of him. Like, I really did wish we would be in a scenario where Ed Asner is still alive and that he would still be around for us to go and watch Doug Days and stuff like that. So that is one thing that is a little bit sad about this, and not of Disney's fault, of course, but honestly, I am definitely excited to see this because, you know, it seems simple, but it's simple enough to be a lot of fun, to be very, you know, for me to be pretty excited to see what this has in store, to see the comeback of characters like Doug and Carl and Russell. So yeah, overall for me, I'm definitely excited to see Doug Days. And if you guys are anticipated to check this out, then keep in mind that the shorts are going to be coming out on September 1st. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, it's available now. And then we have our second mini trailer that we want to go and watch. Jumping from one streaming service to the next. Now that I did talk about Disney's little cartoon they have coming soon, now we're going to go and check out what HBO Max has coming soon. So with that said, let's go and see what HBO has with Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs.
We all know the Flintstones and the Rubbles.
This kid's dad is the bestest eater in Bedrock.
Now, Pebbles and Bam Bam take you out of Bedrock and into the Crags.
The Crags.
Join Pebbles the Explorer,
Tag.
Bam Bam the Smasher,
I need something else to smash.
and their sidekick Dino in wild, new, modern Stone Age adventures.
They're filled with wild, dangerous dinosaurs. Look.
Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs, streaming September 30th on HBO Max.
And that was Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs. Where the fridge do I begin with this? Okay, first off, I just want to go and say this right now. I just want to go and get this out of the way, that I love this concept. I love the idea of how this series wants to go and reboot the Flintstones. That I find to be such an amazing idea, actually. Like, if there is one way to bring the Flintstones into this day and age, into this animation climax, why not actually go and have it be more centered around Pebbles and Bam Bam having a bunch of little dinosaur-like adventures? do something that would be a little bit more in the veins of something like Gravity Falls or Adventure Time, but just starring them and have it be a lot more dinosaur-centric. And, I know in the past, Hanna-Barbera has a prominent history of actually having Pebbles and Bam Bam as prominent characters, but the way they did it before, it was very corny, it was cheesy. It was like when they were teenagers and, Pebbles and Bam Bam were a couple and stuff like that, that kind of stupid thing. But yeah, it was kind of the typical Scooby-Doo kind of trope that they would do with Pebbles and Bam Bam whenever they would want them to be more featured than Fred and Barney. But in this case over here, I like this direction where they decided to go with a more adventure or action-based type of narrative, this type of series that they would have to see Pebbles and Bam Bam go around encountering different types of dinosaurs all around Bedrock. And we have a few nods of the show here and there. You'll have the classic characters come back, as well as having Dino as their prominent sidekick, kind of like their dumb animal buddy that they would have along the way. But then the animation. Oh man, this animation here. I don't know if this is just me. I don't know if maybe this is just my opinion, because usually whenever I would rant about this type of animation here, this would be the kind that I would get a lot of backlash from people telling me it's a style, you just don't understand it. You don't like it because you're just a bad reviewer. This would be that kind of animation that I would criticize, and I would get a lot of hate for it. But I gotta say though, this thing here, oh God. What a way to turn a concept into something that I just rather want to keep my distance. And already, I just see already in the chat, while some people are saying that, oh, it's because of budgetary reasons. It's hell no, man. I do not want to believe that it's because of a stupidly low budget. This has to be a creative decision, because this is from Warner Brothers Animation. This is from the same studio that brought us the Harley Quinn series. And yet they bring us stuff like this. They have this going on. Oh boy, I cannot accept that it's because of a budgetary reason, especially coming from a prominent studio like Warner Brothers Animation. And they do have a bunch of highly prolific voice actors that are going to be involved. I forgot some of the names, but I know that they got Jeff Bergman to play as Fred. They got Grey Griffin, who's going to be playing as Betty. And one of the people who was in Adventure Time, she's actually going to be the voice of Pebbles. So there are some recognizable voices, and I know there is a hefty budget that was put into this, but this style here, oh boy, how can I put this? I get what it's trying to do, because this is technically an homage to Hanna-Barbera and its limited style. But the thing is that there is a limit between limited animation and just full-on amateur hour. The thing is, there are ways that you can actually make good limited animation. There are ways that you can actually have limited animation really look good and really look appealing as well. And a great example I could think of is Kid Cosmic. That is actually a series in which the visual style is actually a blend of classic Hanna-Barbera along with the 1950s style sci-fi comics, and you put them together to create something that is a lot of fun and that stays true to the spirit of what it wants to capture, whether it be those classic television cartoons or those classic comic books as well. It manages to take advantage of the limited animation style in order to create its own brand, to create its own identity that is both retro but also feels current at the same time. But when it comes to what they're doing with Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs, it feels I feel like this is the kind of style that is only acceptable if it was done by a 16-year-old who fully animated this by himself and puts it up on YouTube, kind of like his own little tribute to the Flintstones. If that were the case, that would have been perfectly fine and it would be very admirable. But coming from a major studio, a major prominent studio with an all-star cast and using a very prominent and well-known property like the Flintstones, wow, this is awful. I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but honestly, this is bad. What was the thought process of going with this kind of limited animation? Seriously, why? That's what I want to know. Why go this limited? Why restrict yourself this much to the point where it just looks like amateur hour? Yikes, man. I know there's a lot of people who would go and heavily criticize. And some people are even trying to say, look at Teen Titans Go, or look at the reboots and stuff like that. But no, I would highly disagree. Even stuff like Teen Titans Go or even Thundercats Roar and stuff like that, at least there is a certain quality that does feel like the kind of standard that would be acceptable in this day and age. I know there are plenty of other reasons that people don't like those shows, but the style that they established themselves and the kind of animation that they would develop, it's not actually that bad. Here, however, it's yeah, wow, I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know where you're going with this. I don't know what was the thought process, but the fact that Warner Brothers Animation accepted this animation? I get accepting the concept of it because the concept is great, but this animation is just, it's yikes, man. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. The fact that the fact that Warner Brothers Animation would even let this animation happen, it's bad. I know I sound like a freaking entitled fanboy. I sound like one of those anti-woke fanboys who would go and use the Cal art style and stuff like that. But still, though, it's just that I feel like everything about this is great, except this art style is really holding me back. I never want to watch this based on its style, based on the animation. I mean, I know it sounds bad of me, and who knows, maybe the concepts and maybe the writing is more than excusable to actually make this fun. Maybe they will provide some great jokes. Maybe there would be some kind of Steven Universe or Adventure Time or Gravity Falls level of writing that makes the visuals excusable and can actually make this a lot of fun and make this very enjoyable. But this animation right here, honestly, my first impression is just no, man. It's just no. Maybe it is just me. I mean, whatever. I know, usually I would be heavily criticized for going after animation like this. I mean, it ain't my first rodeo on that. I wouldn't be surprised if, people gave me backlash for my thoughts on what I'm saying about Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs, but just all I could say about this is just no, man. Oh my God, no. I don't know. I think this is going to be coming soon. They say, it's going to be at the end of September or something like that. Or, hold on. Yeah, they say, apparently it's going to be coming out on HBO Max on September 30th. But yikes, man. This is, I just can't get on board with this animation. I don't know if it's just me, but that animation is just pure yikes. All right, so with all that said and done, I would like to go and ask you all, how do you feel about both Doug Days and Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs? Which one do you prefer? Which one are you excited about? And what opinions you may have on both? Let me know what you think. Okay, let's see. What do we have here? For Doug Days, I'm entirely good for some wholesome Doug antics, and to give Ed Asner one final salute. As for Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs, I was never the biggest Flintstones fans, but even at that, this doesn't look so great. But it could be redeemed if they introduce Granddad. That could be an interesting idea, who knows? But with that, I can cap this comment by saying, Squirrel! Oh, sorry, That almost never happens. Really cute, really cute. There's bound to be one comment in here that would go and do that. Wow, just wow. I do like the idea of the show. Seeing Bam Bam and Pebbles going on adventures sounds like a neat idea and concept. But execution-wise, geez Louise, the animation just kills it for me. It looks like a combination of both Jellystone and, funny enough, Flintstones on the Rocks. Yes, that on the Rocks, made by the same sexual predator of a person who later on did The Loud House. Yeah, well, honestly, no, like, the one thing I will say, like, in my opinion, I am honestly a fan of the Jellystone art style. Like, I know it's a lot more different than the look of what's usually done in Hanna-Barbera, but I honestly feel like it is charming enough where it spiritually stays true to the tone of what's been established in those classic Hanna-Barbera shows. I feel like, at least with Jellystone, it is a nice way to modernize the look of the Hanna-Barbera characters. What we got here with Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs, I don't know. I feel like Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs is what Jellystone haters view Jellystone. I think that's the best way to put it there. Oh, let's see what else we have here. So Dug Day sounds like a cute little show. I think I'll watch it. Maybe also hear Ed Asner one last time. My only issue is the design of the squirrel. It doesn't look like it fits within the world of Up. The character designs are geometrically based. And I'm not gonna lie, I do understand where you're actually going with that criticism, because if we do look back at the squirrel, yeah, I mean, this does look more like a realistic squirrel than like something that would be more geometric based with the other characters. Like, this looks, you know, it sounds weird, but it looks too realistic for the kind of character that would be in an Up-like world. So I will give you that one. Anyways, where was I? As for Yabba Dabba, this looks like something I could animate. And I know the movements are going to be limited and amateur. This, yeah. Well, I can't wait for the Cars Series X fall. I want my babies back. Yeah, I just want, yeah, it's like, yeah, you know what? Screw this. No, I want Cars. Where's my Mater? Yeah, I think I would rather Mater to come back than whatever thing this animation is. Let's see now. Dug Days doesn't really seem like that much, but I feel fine that it isn't something grand. Sometimes you need something simple, and that is really what Dug Days wants to give us. I'm not going to watch it as soon as I can, but I will check it out. As for Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs, oof. I would compare this to a cheap web animation, but it feels like that would be insulting to those web animators because this was made by a big animation studio. I'll just slam my fist on the big skip button on this one. Yeah, you know, honestly, that's the funny thing about this is that Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs actually feels like a series that was made, you know, it feels like a cartoon that you would see in a cartoon. Like, this is the kind of cartoons that Pebbles and Bam Bam would watch on the Flintstones instead of an actual Pebbles and Bam Bam series. That's what it legitimately feels like. It's a cartoon that, you know, it feels like a cartoon that's within a cartoon that's trying to satirize cartoons. That's the best way to put it. Let's see. I'll read one more comment before we get into the last one. There we go. The trailer for Dug Days looks great, but the trailer for Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs, however, well, the concept of it is nice, but the animation style looks like trash. Surprisingly, for Dug Days, I really enjoyed Up, and considering it's one of my favorites along with WALL-E, especially with that scene where one of the dogs who crashes each other like, "Squirrel, where? I hate squirrels!" And I'm not so sure about Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs. The concept is good, but not the animation, so I'll give it a pass. Okay, so at least at the very least, it's not just me. You know, it's not just me with the aspect of Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs. And yeah, we'll just wait and see with how both shows go, with how both how both of them goes. So with Dug Days, that's going to be coming out on September 1st, and as for Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs, that's going to be coming out on September 30th. All right, with that said, now it is now time. We're going to jump on to the grand finale. And with our final story, I decided to go with a bonus miscellaneous, but it is one of the biggest stories of last week. The big thing that everyone is hyping up about. And it is the one positive thing that does make us happy in this pretty unnerving and terrifying world with what's been going on with Afghanistan, with the pandemic at its worst again, and also with the unfortunate hurricane that is going after Louisiana. So with that said, let us go and talk about the record that has been done by Spider-Man No Way Home. Yes, last week, Sony Pictures and Marvel has decided to go and put out the teaser trailer for the third movie in the MCU Spider-Man movie series, Spider-Man No Way Home. And Sony decided to go and, well, primarily Sony decided to go and do this as part of their major CinemaCon event, or at least for their panel during CinemaCon. And everybody is massively hyped up. So far, the reception that it's been getting so far is overwhelmingly positive. So much so that it even broke the record that was set by Avengers Endgame, being the most watched trailer in history in the span of its first 24 hours, where a grand total across so many different accounts and across so many different social media platforms earned a grand total of 355.5 million global views, which broke the record made by Avengers Endgame that previously held the record with 289 million views. So that's pretty much the big thing to go and emphasize here, is the fact that No Way Home is really hyping things up, and it is so far right now the most hyped up movie that is currently coming soon. Regardless if it's just for this year or even beyond, the most anticipated one so far is Spider-Man No Way Home, debatably even more so than what's going to be coming pretty soon with No Time to Die and Dune. And I think it's pretty obvious as to why this is so hyped up and why so many people immediately went to go and watch it. Well, number one, of course, it is a Spider-Man movie. And when it comes to the Spider-Man films, a lot of people are very much excited for it. And especially right now, with what some people are even saying currently is the best Spider-Man movie series that's been out so far, even more so than the Sam Raimi and the Mark Webb ones. So far, like, it's been on a pretty good track with Homecoming and Far From Home. And now that we do have No Way Home, which for now it seems like some people are saying is the final installment of the MCU Spider-Man movies, or like that's directly about Spider-Man. So of course already that hype is already built up. And not to mention the concepts that they are really going to be introducing in this movie in particular. I know that a lot of it has already been already dived into the Marvel Cinematic Universe series that's been on Disney Plus, like in WandaVision and just recently with Loki. But this is going to be the first Marvel Cinematic Universe movie that's really going to dive into the realm of the multiverse, that they're fully going to go and explore that aspect, especially with Peter Parker going to meet up with Doctor Strange, and considering the situation that Peter got into, where he's right now he's been so hated and he's been exposed as Spider-Man, he just wants to go and try to like really reverse that, and he demands the help of Doctor Strange to go and do so, which pretty much ends up putting Peter Parker into the multiverse, and he doesn't know which universe that he's in. He wants to go back to his home universe, which brings us possibly the main reason why the hype is real with No Way Home, why everyone is so excited. In fact, let me just show you just a clip. I don't have to say it. Let me just go and present to you why people are so hyped up. Excuse me. Yes, I want to play it. Yes, thank you. It's this little piece right over here.
Hello, Peter.
The comeback of Alfred Molina as Doc Ock. And not only that, but we even got a little bit of a preview before. Not only that, but we also had this little scene.
Dangerous it becomes.
Yes, the Green Goblin is also going to be returning, and by the looks of things, based on the fact that it is the little signature orange bomb, there is a very strong chance that it could be not just the Green Goblin, but Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin as well. Which brings up what I was talking about, the rumors of the grand return of the actors who were previously in the other older Spider-Man movies. I mean, we did have some confirmation on other casting, including Jamie Foxx. Apparently, he's going to be coming back as Electro, and a few others as well. But this at the very least has confirmed that a fan favorite, Alfred Molina, will be coming back as Doc Ock. And I mean, technically, this is not the first time that we do see an actor coming back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe playing as a character that he previously played before. Like, we did see J.K. Simmons coming back as J. Jonah Jameson. So there was already that element that was introduced, I believe, in Far From Home that they did so. But in here, what really got a lot of people very much hyped up is the fact that we do see the return of Alfred Molina, which does fuel up the rumors of the ultimate moment. The one thing that people really want to see the most is going to be not just Tom Holland as Spider-Man, but he's going to be joined by Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, the two previous cinematic Spider-Mans, that they might be coming back. Now, there is no confirmation on their return as of yet, but the fact that we got those villains that are going to be returning and that those older Spider-Man films might even actually have a connection to the MCU, especially now with the introduction or with the full introduction with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that's why people are now currently hyped up. And this trailer did such a phenomenal job in terms of delivering what people want to see and just giving a little bit of a taste, where we do see a little bit of a continuation after the events of what happened after Far From Home, after Mysterio ended up revealing the identity of Spider-Man, which is Peter Parker. So we do see the consequences of that. And then we get into the meat of the whole thing, where we see the whole concept of the multiverse being brought in thanks to the help of Doctor Strange. And then we do see Peter Parker in the multiverse, which we did have a little bit of a taste with the possible comeback of Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, as well as Alfred Molina as Doc Ock. Now, this is just a little bit of a taste, and there is still a lot more speculations, rather if Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire will come back as Spider-Man. That we still don't know. How much screen time are we going to see those villains? That is something that will be something we will have to wait and see. We don't know if they will be prominent characters, or even if what we are introduced to, if they're just going to be cameos and nothing more than that. But we do know that the hype is going to be real. And depending on how you view it, I mean, it could definitely be very beneficial for both Marvel and Sony, the fact that people are really excited. But there is also that risk that now there's going to be high expectations. And if those expectations aren't going to be met, then yeah, you can guarantee some fans are going to be massively upset. But considering Marvel's track record, especially when it comes to these Marvel Spider-Man movies, there's a good chance that, yeah, they'll deliver something that the fans will absolutely be happy about. And one thing I will say, however, that I'm not 100% sure that we would have to wait and see is how it's going to go at the box office, because a lot of people are currently hyping up of the fact that, oh, this is going to be like $1 billion hit, but you gotta keep in mind that we are still in a pandemic. You know, like, and we cannot tell how the future is going to be. Maybe by Christmas, it's going to get better. Maybe it's still going to be as bad as it is right now, or maybe it's even going to be a whole lot worse. Who knows how this is going to be? But it's like at this point, it's very difficult to imagine that even something like this would end up crossing $1 billion at the box office. But honestly, again, we just gotta wait and see. Maybe it will turn out to be a hit. And I'm not saying that it's going to fail because it's going to disappoint people and it's going to actually suck and stuff like that. I'm just saying I don't know how the box office is going to be, because the future is very much unpredictable with how things are with the pandemic. So that's why I'm saying we will wait and see if it is going to be a legitimate success or not. But one thing I do know is that Sony is definitely desperate to have this be a success, because if not, then the chances of Spider-Man fully going to Disney would become more and more possible, especially with this pandemic. And we know very well of how this pandemic is hitting Sony Pictures hard, even if they're not saying anything about it. So yeah, I know the hype is definitely real, and it's justifiable why people are definitely excited for it. And if you guys are excited to go and see Spider-Man No Way Home, then keep in mind that the movie will be coming out on December 17th. All right, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what do you think about the way that Spider-Man No Way Home broke the records? Do you think it's justifiable? Are you excited, by the way, to see Spider-Man No Way Home? What are your thoughts on the trailer? Let me know what you all think on all that. Okay, let's see. Well, let's be real. Who didn't see this record coming? I actually watched the trailer so far. I want more, because I know I gotta have it. I know I'm gonna see it one day. I love how they're adapting the One More Day storyline. The inclusion of past villains is a spectacular idea, and the tone feels like the same as the other Phase 4 multiverse projects. But if we can somehow get Danny DeVito in a Spider-Man suit from It's Always Sunny, then it'll definitely be opening day. Oh my god, that would absolutely be epic. And you know, there's also one more speculation that I do have to say that I keep hearing about, is that regarding this one Spider-Man, by the way, that now the rumors are really speculating that we might actually see him, is that some people are now thinking that we may actually see a live-action Miles Morales. That this could be one of the last times that we will see Tom Holland as Peter Parker, but instead of seeing Peter Parker Spider-Man, because Tom Holland won't do it anymore, we will end up actually seeing a new actor play as Miles Morales. Or actually, one thing that I would say would actually be really cool, I highly doubt they would do so, but if they would find a way to find one character from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and put it onto that film, that would actually be epic. Like, if you could throw in Spider-Pig, honestly, I would be down for it. Even if I haven't seen the other Spider-Man MCU movies, like, that would immediately get me to go and watch this film, no question. All right, what else do we have? So, people think that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are coming to the MCU. My best friend brought up something interesting. Dafoe, Molina, and Fox were already confirmed as being in the movie. However, Maguire and Garfield were always rumors. There's also the fact that Doc Ock was greeting Peter, meaning that he is familiar with that Peter. What if the alternate Spider-Man are all Tom Holland, like J.K. Simmons is James Jonah Jameson? I know my sister loves Tom Holland, so I'll see it with her. Yeah, honestly, that is actually a good point. And one thing that is often brought up that does solidify those rumors is actually regarding the last shot that we do see of Peter Parker right over here. Because the suit that Tom Holland is wearing is the exact same one as what Tobey Maguire wore in Spider-Man 3. So that could actually be a possibility that we might end up seeing, like, if Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield would be in it, it wouldn't be as Spider-Man, but it would be like a reflection that Peter Parker looks into a mirror and he sees the face of Tobey Maguire instead of him. So there is that possibility as well. So, but then again, you never know. Maybe because those are the most anticipated that they would definitely keep it a surprise. I mean, you got to keep in mind when it comes to J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson, they didn't announce his casting until the movie was actually released, and we suddenly see that cameo at the end of Far From Home. So there is that possibility too. Let's see what else do we have here. The teaser for Spider-Man No Way Home looks great. I didn't really expect Alfred Molina reprising his role as Doc Ock, Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin, and Jamie Foxx as Electro. I thought that another original villain would pop up like Scorpion would be in this movie, but I guess I was wrong. I'm pretty hyped for this movie and I can't wait to see it in theaters. That is, if they ever release it in theaters, if you know what I mean. Oh, they will. They definitely will. It's not like Sony is going to go and delay it. I highly doubt that. No, they're going to keep this in theaters. And because it's Sony Pictures releasing it, it will only be in theaters. I can guarantee you this is not going to be one of those cases that Disney is suddenly going to do a premiere access at the same time on Disney+. Let's see, what else do we have? I'll be frank with you in the chat wall. I have a high respect for the 3 first movies from the 2000s, but I'm not a big fan of the MCU. All that hype that is generating feels for me like a swipe away. Maybe I'll watch it just to see the previous incarnations of both Spideys and the villains, but that aside, I'm really hesitant to see it. I mean, that is fine. I can imagine, like, for people who are not into the MCU, they wouldn't be as interested to see this one. So, I mean, I don't blame you there. Let's see. This trailer absolutely deserves that record. Out of all the upcoming MCU movies coming out, this is easily my most anticipated. I am absolutely hyped to see how they can include all the Spider-Man characters from the previous movie, so overall, I am hyped. Also, I'm really excited how Marvel will connect the events from No Way Home, WandaVision, and Loki to the events of Doctor Strange sequel, Multiverse of Madness. Alright, that's interesting. I think I'm going to go with one more comment before we cap this off. Spider-Man No Way Home is probably the most anticipated Marvel movie of the year, more so than Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and The Eternals. And seeing that it broke Endgame's record of the most viewed trailer of all time is well deserved as a Spider-Man fan. I don't know if this will manage to be a success at the box office due to the current times with this pandemic, but I will be excited to see this movie coming out on Christmas, so it better lives up to the hype for me. Yes, I could definitely tell that a lot of people are excited for it, so we'll wait and see with how things go on December 17th. And with that said, that should do it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, so let me just say thank you all so much for joining me on this one, and I hope you guys all appreciate the emotes. Again, if you guys want to have more AniMat emotes, then don't forget to subscribe to me on my Twitch channel, and tune in next week that maybe we will see more fun adventures, and we will see a lot more crazy stories that will occur in the crazy world of animation and entertainment. So with all that said, I would like to say thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. And until next time, see you later, dudes.